Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another Cassandra.Lunch, Cassandra.Lunch 132 to be exact. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon. This afternoon, we're going to have Dipan Shah going over using Terraform Modules and Ansible to install Cassandra on AWS and Azure. The hosts for this event are Raul and myself. We are looking for speakers and sponsors for this event, so if you're interested in either opportunity, please reach out to me at the email address listed below, or just contact us directly on our site. We are a part of a larger community called Data Community DC, which believes in building an inclusive environment, so no matter your race, gender, or sexual orientation, everyone is welcome, and we expect respect to be given to all. Data Community DC is made up of a lot of different groups, all generally surrounding data. Please check out the links below if you're interested in learning more about them. So what do we cover here at Cassandra.Lunch? Cover everything related to Cassandra, Spark, and Kafka, and a whole lot more. If it's your first time joining us here for Cassandra.Lunch, please go ahead and introduce yourself, how you work with Cassandra, what you're hoping to learn, and any potential topics you'd like us to cover in future Cassandra lunches. We really do want to emphasize that this is a community event. We want everybody to get involved, so your input really does help. Okay, group rules. If you have a question, ask it. Like I mentioned earlier, please be polite and courteous to others. And like I just said a second ago, we want this to be a community, so please do share what you know with us as we go along. All right, here at Anant, we design and build and manage global real-time data and analytics platforms surrounding Cassandra, Spark, and Kafka, so Cassandra is our bread and butter. We'd like to thank our program sponsors, also our organizational sponsors listed below. 15-second announcements. If you have any jobs, meetups, hackathons, conferences, classes, or any general announcements, please leave them in the chat along with a link if applicable. Cassandra events, obviously we have our Cassandra lunch every Thursday at noon. We also have our sister data engineers lunch Mondays at noon as well. Please subscribe to our channel and our meetup group so you're notified of future events and also when we go live. We do have a lot of events planned for you this year, so please make sure you're subscribed. Also, subscribe to our channel. You could catch up on Cassandra lunch videos or just any video surrounding data. We have a vast library, so please do check that out. Cassandra.Link is updated. We have a new feel and look. It's your one-stop shop for all things Cassandra related. Please do check that out. It's Cassandra.Link. And then finally, our latest runbook is out, and it goes hand in hand with our presentation this afternoon. Same title, and essentially we're just going to be providing a live demo of that runbook. If you haven't already, you can download your copy. It is free. I'll be leaving a link to that in the chat, and you can follow along, or if you're watching this later, we'll have this video as a resource. And with that, I will hand it over to our speaker for this afternoon, Dipan. Dipan, over to you.
Thanks, Akwi. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to talk about installing Cassandra, right? So we're going to use Terraform, where we have a Terraform module that takes care of creating virtual machines in AWS, Azure, or you can do it on both, right? I'll go through what I have. I'll quickly share my screen to show that, right? So as Akwi described, we recently released a runbook which actually gives you a repository which can do installation of Cassandra on AWS or Azure for now. I'm just going to update it at GCP2 so that it has all three major cloud providers over here. So the README is pretty descriptive. It has all the steps that you need to take care of this. I just made what I can do is I can just go through this to give you a brief overview of what we are going to cover today. At the same time, don't forget to download the runbook because that gives you some more details, like just the background of what is being done over here and how you can achieve this, right? So to get started, this is a repository, like the link is there in the runbook. You can go to this repository, it's under the Anant organization, right, called Cassandra.Install. And over here, what we're going to do is we're going to use Terraform, create VMs. I'll show how that is being done, and then Ansible for installation. This works on just Ubuntu 22 for now. It can work on the other Ubuntu versions too. It should be fine. Then we shortly have one for CentOS too. So We'll cover that also. There are some prerequisites. Obviously, you need Terraform, you need an Ansible, and you also need an AWS or Azure account, right? So I have my AWS account over here. My Terraform instance is on AWS. I also have an Azure account over here, which does not have anything Cassandra related right now. So this is still empty. We'll show once the resources get created. If anyone is new to Ansible or Terraform, I have also provided instructions on how you can set up your Terraform, right? These are instructions that you can find on the HashiCorp website too. But if you just don't want to go back and forth, you can follow these instructions and it should work perfectly fine for you. Install Ansible to the same thing as Terraform. Once you have that, you'll have to configure AWS CLI because from your Terraform instance, like this server that you have, this can be a local Terraform also, right? You can run this from your laptop itself. So once you set it up on your laptop, you still need to configure your access to your AWS and Azure accounts, right? So once you do that, you can use this command to set up AWS CLI and then provide your account details. And the same way you can set up Azure CLI also and set up your account details over there, right? So once you do this AZ login, it's going to give you the whole method, like the pop-up to log into your Azure account. Again, all of these account, like if this is a bit different for your laptop or the VM that you're using, you can get up-to-date instructions from the AWS or Azure websites. But they should ideally be working for anything that has a bash shell, right? Once that is done, I'll show how the whole installation process works. And for that, we can maybe, let's quickly jump into our files also. So like when you download the codes for this particular repository, right? Or when you clone it, you'll see two different directories over here. You'll have Terraform and you'll also have Ansible. Okay. So inside Terraform, you'll be able to see there are our main Terraform files and there's a modules directory. The modules directory has the files for AWS and Azure. Let's look at our main file first. Okay. So this is a pretty simple file. It has the AWS Azure modules defined over here. It basically checks if we are going to be deploying on AWS or not, or if we're going to deploy on Azure or not. And then just take all of this information, the information that we provide to inside the variables file that we'll use to set up Terraform, like set up the VMs using Terraform, right? The variables file has basic variables, not a lot of them. It has an enable AWS flag, which is set to true or false. It has an enable Azure flag, which is set to true or false, right? So how this works is, say you just want to create your virtual machines on AWS, then you'll set this as true, and for Azure, you'll set it as false. Okay. The same, like you can set it to true for Azure and false for AWS too. But you can also set it to true for both of them. Okay. So if you want to create, if you have a multi-cloud environment, right, that is the purpose of this actually. So people have when you have organizations that have multi-cloud environments, say you have GCP2, and you're going to have multiple data centers on the basis of that, then you can set it to true for all your cloud environments that you have, and then create a proper multi-cloud deployment using this module, right? Instance count is what you have, the number of instances that you need on your clouds. There are some AWS or Azure specific like variables also, because for AWS over here in this particular module, we don't take care of creating VPCs or subnets, right? Because it's possible that you want to use an existing subnet also, where you already have your other microservices, your other databases deployed. So for AWS, we need that you just provide your subnet IDs over here, right? For Azure, what is the resource group name that you want to use, right? And your location. This is an Azure specific variable, because subnet will take care of everything else for AWS, but for Azure, you have to specify your location. There are also, this is the providers file that we have for AWS and Azure that is pretty self-descriptive. And you also have an outputs file, right? We're just running out the instance things that we'll see once we create those instances. So for getting started, once you download this, once you have Terraform and all of that stuff, you set up your variables to Terraform file. And then depending on what you're going to use, AWS, Azure, or both, you'll have a different variables file for that too, right? So you need to provide an AMI ID, the one that you want, like the OS that you want to deploy, the machine made that you need to use. So for me right now, this is an Ubuntu 22 AMI ID that is deployed in AP South 1, right? And you have your instance types too, okay? So that is what you give over here. And you'll have a similar thing for Azure also, right? So if you want to describe anything over here, you can do that. Once that is done, this is pretty simple, right? It just takes everything from the variable itself. It's a small AWS instance block, the resource block that you have to create your VMs on AWS or Azure. Once that is done, the VMs are created. We don't have a direct, like you obviously can call Ansible directly from here. You can also create your host file on the basis of that, right? That step is not completely automated yet. But once that is done, you have your variable like the host file for Ansible, right? You can just feed your IPs that you have, your node 1, node 2, node 3 IPs. And you have variables defined directly over here for now. So if I have, say, for example, I'm deploying this in, say, US East 1 or AP South, wherever, and just say data center is that. Now, because we know these are logical names, I can just keep it as AWS 1 for now and keep my rack as AZ1 for now because I'm deploying everything in the same subnet, right? You can also define the data directories. You can give like these. This is the only variable that we expect for the Cassandra.YAML right now. You just give it the cluster name and the seed list. Everything else, the listen address, broadcast address, everything else, like if you want gossiping property files, whatever, we are configuring it automatically for. Okay. So once you do that, you run your playbooks. We have 2 playbooks for now, which is a prerequisites file and the actual Cassandra setup file. The prerequisites file just takes care of like packages that we need. We need OpenJDK, we need AWS CLI, we need Python, we need NDB, right? So we take care of installing those packages before going at the actual Cassandra setup, which will go ahead and download Cassandra, create directories, extract your config, like extract the Cassandra's tar, set up your Cassandra.YAML, RACDC properties, JVM server properties. It also sets up the bash RC file, takes care of server hardening, creates your service file, right? And enables it for automatic start and all of that stuff. Okay. So this is what we have. And yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat. I don't mind taking questions in between too. So don't wait. It's not required. Yeah. So if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay. So this is what we have, a pretty simple like repository that has basic files that takes care of the setup that we have. We connect to my Terraform Ansible server. Please the font. Oh, actually, I just need you to confirm if this is visible enough.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Close to my screen, but I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Let me actually just increase it by 1 so that visible for everything. Okay, this should be better. All right, so what I have for now is I have my Terraform directory, right? The one that we just went through. And let's just look at Terraform plan for now. Okay. I'll just run Terraform plan, wait for this to execute. It might take a few seconds. that happens, I can show my files over here also. Let's look at the variables file. For now, I've set enable AWS to true and enable Azure to true. And I have 3 servers over here that are getting created. This is on each cloud. Okay. So that is how it is set up right now. I have my AWS subnet ID defined over here. And also my resource group location. Look at the output of the Terraform plan step. Let's scroll a bit to the top. You see that like AWS instances are getting created, right? Azure instances are getting created. Yeah. Now, at certain places, you'll also have to take care of your like SSH keys getting created. Okay. So there are steps where the SSH key, if you look at the README file, okay, you are creating SSH keys that you have to provide to Azure for access, right? So please ensure that you're following the instructions that are given in the README, because like you might feel that, okay, this step is not required, and when you move on to the implementation, your like creation might fail. Okay, so yeah, so this is Azure instances, your Azure networks getting created, resource groups and all. So it's creating resources, it's not changing or destroying anything. Let's apply this. So I am using an M5 large instance for now instead of the micro instances that we had in the repository. Let's hit yes. We can go to our, see, these are our Cassandra instances getting created in AWS, right? And this is our Azure account. Yeah, this is the Cassandra resource group that we created. Obviously, these all are naming conventions, and you can change all of them using the Terraform, like the variables file or wherever it is being defined. It's pretty easy to change. Not everything is done yet. And apply complete. Well, added, 0 change, 0 destroyed, and these are the outputs that we received. Okay. Yeah. So M5 large instances created over here. These are getting initialized, and these are also almost done, right? So pretty simple enough to get it created. Yeah, once you have your prerequisites taken care of, this is very easy to do. Now, once we have this, we can basically, so this is what I'll suggest. Okay, so when you do this, right, if you are just doing it on AWS, like I showed the standard deployment just on AWS for now. So if you are just using AWS or just Azure or GCP in the future, just set that to true, set everything else to false, right? And your Cassandra cluster using that. Now, as I said, the step in between is not automated yet. So I'll have to go ahead and configure my host file for now. I'll just quickly collect the IPs. That's right. It's here. Right, I'll take my IPs from here. Set them up. Zero. Yeah, and the data seed this too. All right. So once that is done, let's quickly check if the host file. Yeah. So I have my IP showing up correctly. I just verify that once. 49, 145, 229. Yeah, and these are my files for now. So this is my commit log directory, this is my data directory, this is my configuration directory, right? So all of that looks good to me. We'll just quickly check if I have access to those machines. We have access to it. So that looks good. Okay, so this is perfect. Then I think we're ready to go ahead with the setup. So playbook. This is my host file. This is my playbook. What should be right? Yes. Connect to servers. See, can they connect to them and start up a service? These are also up and running. As you can see, the playbook is taking care of updating the package manager, installing packages. We just have one server left to go. We don't have anything with the name of Cassandra right now. All right, so prerequisites are taken care of. Now we can go ahead and just run the setup file. Okay. We take care of all of this in the temp directory, so it's going to download it over there. Create the directories that we have defined. Like if you have a different directory, just define it over here. It's updating the YAML file, updating rackdc, updating the server like JVM file, setting bash RC, configuring limits, CPL. Right, creating service file, reload, and done. Okay. Just change the font on one of these servers. Show everything. Yeah, so we go inside the Cassandra directory, right? So this is where we have everything. So if you look at YAML file, you'll see this defined as cluster one and all the changes that we have basically, right? So the configurations are taken care of. You see that the service file would have been created and have to, let me just reload one of these. So if you check the Cassandra status, so we don't start up the service automatically because obviously depending on how you're going to use all of this, you're not just going to create your cluster, right? You're also going to add instances in the future. So it can be a bootstrap also. If you want to verify everything before starting up the service, we just prefer that we don't start it straight away. So let's just start the service now on all these hosts. Start, scale, the system.log file. You see the progress. Right, it's just saying that okay, 229 is now a part of the cluster, 145 is a part of the cluster. Yeah. That's not finished. Starting up yet. To settle. Okay, so we have a cluster up and running. We have it, the data center name is AWS. We started the cluster as a cluster one. The rack is AZ1. These are all our 3 servers. Tokens are defined, and all of that is done. So, yeah, this is how easy it is to create your cluster from scratch. Right, so you can easily use this on your dev environment, right? I know production environments need configuration changes depending on how we're going to use this, whatever the organizational requirements are. But yeah, for testing purposes, it's perfect. And if you want to just use this and maybe build your own playbooks and modules, that is also a great starting point. Yeah. That's it for this. Akhil, do we have any questions?
So it doesn't look like we have any questions so far. If you do have any questions for Dipan, I'll go ahead and drop them in the chat while we just close out with some.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
go ahead, Dipan.
no, I'm just like, while we wait for questions, I'm going to, so just remember to destroy these VMs once you are done, because you don't want to pay extra for this, like, because these are large machines, you don't want to pay for them if you're not going to be using them, if this is just for testing purposes or demo purposes. So don't forget to destroy the resources that you just created, right? So I'll just wait before destroying if there are any questions. If not, then I'll just go ahead and destroy them.
Sure. And while your questions are just coming in, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Let's just touch on a couple housekeeping items as we close out here. As I mentioned throughout the chat, throughout the launch, please download our runbook. This launch goes hand in hand with our runbook that's out. We do have a question that's come in, Dipan. What would it take to make this a single deployment across both platforms rather than two separate Cassandra clusters on AWS and Azure?
Yeah, so for that, we have to update the Terraform model that we have. Like, you basically just need connectivity between your machines, right? So if you have like two different data centers, one being in Azure, one in AWS or in GCP, right? You just need to ensure connectivity. So your rules that you're defining for your network, that needs to be precise. So don't just use the default resource blocks that you have right now. You can just update that. We'll also take care of that. So see, this is what we have in the public domain right now. But at the same time, we also have playbooks that can take care of setting up the like your maintenance scripts. So that can be backup, that can be repairs. It can also be monitoring. It can be log aggregation. So we do all of that. So and also multi-cloud deployment. So like these are just changes that need to be baked into how your organization works. But give a direct answer, these are minor changes that you'll have to make to your Terraform models, and you should be able to ensure connectivity between your multi-DC setup.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? Please go ahead and drop them in the chat. All right, Dipan, while you close those out, couple more housekeeping items. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to our channel and also like this video if you haven't already. Our meetup group is available on our events page. You can go there and sign up so you're notified when we have upcoming events. And also once you're subscribed to our channel, you get notified whenever we go live. We do try and host these live, but we may, based on demand, just start putting out videos for you to catch at your convenience. I know this is the middle of the day, so sometimes we can't get everybody on. It doesn't look like we have any further questions. Dipan, I want to thank you again for another great launch. I want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. No more questions. All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back same time, same place next week, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks everyone.
Okay, I'll just give me one second. Just add one thing. So if there are specific requests that you have for us, like this was obviously a good question, right? Where you want to ensure connectivity between a multi-DC setup or a multi-cloud setup. If you have such requests for us, you can maybe get in touch with us through like we have various channels that Acme has posted, right? So you can get in touch with us through any of those channels. You can also, you have the repository, you can raise your request over there. So do that, and if it's a small enough change or if it is something that is interesting enough, we will surely make that change and make it available for you guys.
Absolutely. And if you do have any questions, if you're watching this at a later time, you go ahead and leave them in the comments or reach out directly to me. Thanks for joining us, Malo. We're happy you could join us. That's great to hear. as I was saying, if you're watching this at a later time, you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, or you can reach out to me directly at akwi@anant.us. We're always happy to help. As I mentioned at the start of this video, we do want this to be an inclusive community. So if there are any topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please go ahead and reach out, and we'd love to have that. And thanks, Malo. Glad to have you. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Dipan, do you have anything else before we close out?
That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Take care.